I talked about that for my post yesterday for my birthday of just having like perspective.
Yeah.
Like, wow, yeah, we have like come pretty far, but then like still you can see everything else that you're exposed to. Like, wow, like we got a long way to go. Like we haven't even like it feels like we came really, really far, but like we really came like this far in the grand scheme of things. But it's felt so much in the grand scheme of things, bro. Like we're going outside of the fucking city.
You know, that's kind of what your meetup had felt like for me, because it had been a while since I've been to a meetup. I didn't really realize it how long it had been since I really stepped out like that. But I knew it was something that I had to go to because, you know, it was three people I respected tremendously. And so I didn't realize just the growth on, I guess, maybe it'd be social media, whatever that may be. But at the end of the night, I realized like I went with the idea of being able to catch up with certain people that I haven't been able to see in a long time. And it was, I don't want to say interrupted, but there was so many other conversations from people who have listened to our podcast, who have, you know, engaged with me on social media, who I haven't been able to personally meet, you know, come up to me and just thank me and, you know, all these things. It was so many of those things that took place that I never really was able to accomplish what I had sought out to do. And I think when I sat back at home and I kind of reflected on it, I was like, man, that was crazy. Like, I feel like I didn't even really get much done, or kind of what I wanted to get done. But it was, you know, kind of like receiving flowers to be able to go there and actually be able to see the people that you impact every day.
You actually get to see the fruit of like all the work you're putting in, and like, are you actually getting a reach on it?
Yeah.
Right. Because like, you're just like there's all these metrics and stuff, and then you go and like, hey, I love your podcast. Hey, this, hey, that, like that.
And you act surprised too. I'm like, oh shit, you do? Oh, bro, you know what I mean? Because
that's every time. Like I got a voicemail the other day of like a dude who I do not remember talking to, and he was like, bro, thank you so much for the advice. You changed my life. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. I'm doing that. All thanks because that conversation we had. I was like, oh, bro, I love that shit.
It's so awesome, bro. And it's so hard to receive the flowers of that because like we do it just purely out of a giving perspective in a way that when, you know, we created this podcast in a way of just allowing people insight into our everyday type conversations. And sometimes that may be to a fault because sometimes we don't talk as much because we do the podcast.
Yeah.
And we want to have content to talk about. But it is dope to have those conversations with a friend, be able to put it out there, hoping that someone finds value in it. And it's no metric to that. It's no metric saying, you know, hey, you talk about this on the podcast, you know, I guess it is. You can track if it's viewed a lot, but we don't know coming in necessarily what we're going to talk about. We don't know what part of a podcast that someone's going to find entertaining or someone's going to pull value from. So only how we know is when people reach out to us and tell us thank you about something, or they comment on something, or they engage with us about it. Is only how we really know if it was valuable to anybody.
The ADU guy wants to come on this podcast.
I know. How awesome was that?
That was dope. But he's legit professional. Making a video like that, I was like, bro, you're.
Oh yeah.
You're a fucking guy. But we're hashing out everything probably today.
Okay.
And then we'll get the next one. I think the next one we're gonna do, we're just gonna probably like rent out a brewery.
Okay.
And then just have everybody come.
Oh, okay. So we're gonna do it like that.
Yeah, we're gonna do like a big social one. Like no big speakers. Like maybe me, Dean, and Jason get up. Dean's probably gonna blindside us with another presentation. Like, yeah, we'll get up, like introduce the sponsors, like it's really about my man Dino hits some arm pump, talks about, hey, this is what we do, this is our program. It's like, yo, I was prepared for that. One thing that I'm going to work on more is Jason is one of the best communicators I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, 100%, bro. 100%. Everything feels so calculated. Everything, even though it's not.
It's not, but like he's a really good communicator. And I was talking to Kalani. I was like, bro, Jason said something and the room clapped. And I was like, that wasn't one of the first times I've like been on a stage with someone and then like you feel that. And I was like, well, yeah, I mean, that's my answer. But then she's like, Stratton, you just said you want to be fucking rich. Like, what is the reasoning behind it and like everything behind it? Because like for me, when you were talking about failure and like people ask me about dealing with failure, I'm like, bro, like we're past that shit. Like if you're in the game, you're in the game. We just got to keep going. Like, because I see failure as like a metric to success.
Yeah.
I was like, if I got to declare PK because I took too big of a risk, I declared failure. I did, but then like, do I die?
Yeah. But you then at that point, that's really where it becomes your audience. Who's your audience when you're talking about what's your biggest failure or what's your biggest fear? Because
they were
us,
asking about how do you get past
how do you get past it, right? If you're talking to me or we're talking to Jason about how you get past failure, like, well, that's not a question that we're really going to ask each other because we kind of know, like, kind of not flinch and just keep going, right? But when we're talking to people just, looking to take that next step and they're afraid of taking that step based off of fear and the thought of failure, the answer can't be, well, I just want to be fucking rich.
Well, I mean, you got to, for me, truly, like, bro,
they don't understand that though. They're like, fuck, I'm just trying to take my first step.
No, so there's two things. Like, why do you get up in the morning?
Yeah.
And then how do you overcome failure? And then they're like, what's your why? I was like, okay, I want everyone around me to be successful. And like, still, I just want to be rich. Like, but then she was like, well, Strat, what's all the things you want that come with being rich? And elaborate that and tell them about how
what makes being rich.
Yeah. And like how shitty it was being broke when you had to do all this other shit. And then why being rich means so much because all the options it provides you.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, yeah, I guess so.
That makes sense. Like
that makes sense.
Zeno outside jumping in your rain boots and in puddles and shit, right?
Right in the middle of the day.
That can be rich to somebody because some people are at work at that time. So that's rich. It has nothing to do with money in essence, but money is what allows that moment to take place.
Where were we? We were in New Orleans looking at that storage facility.
Yeah, with that shitty ass phone, bro. Don't ever post no content with no shitty phone like that.
I know. I just won't put Instagram on that phone, so I sent it to myself.
That was so
Apple
fucking
does
horrible.
That shit on purpose.
That was so fucking horrible.